The Trumpet Daily program begins right now.
Today's world news, what it means, where it's taking us.
I bring you the one and only possible message of world peace.
This is a message of hope, tremendous hope. And he said unto me, you must prophesy again.
The Trumpet Daily program begins right now.
With all of that being said, I want to be a great president. I will have served. Hopefully, everything will go well. I feel very good. I just did a physical. I took, unlike all other presidents, I took cognitive tests and I aced it. I got 100% correct. And one doctor said, there were numerous doctors watching. And he said, I've never seen that before. Biden didn't take a cognitive. He couldn't have gotten the first question right. But I came out great with the physical, both physically and mentally. And I just want to serve, do a great job. I'll be an 8-year president. I'll be a 2-term president. I always thought that was very important, to be honest with you. You know, if you look at President Polk, he was a 1-termer and he did some great things, actually. Pretty good president. And I'm not saying you can't do that, but there's something about being a 2-term president that was very important to me.
Presidential oath is, I do solemnly swear that I will faithfully execute the office of the President of the United States and will, to the best of my ability, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States. Donald Trump has taken that oath twice and was obviously unmoved by it. He also obviously did not listen to it. And Joe Biden took an oath of office more than any other president. He took an oath of office 10 times, 7 as a senator, twice as vice president, and once as president. And Joe Biden meant every word of that oath, including very much so the "so help me God" part of that oath. Joe Biden lived that oath of office. No president had more reverence for that oath than Joe Biden. And now, right after Joe Biden, we have a president who does not know what reverence is or what his oath means.
I hadn't seen him in person during that period of time. I never saw that person, not a single time, and I was in the Oval Office every day that was on that debate stage. I'm not a doctor. Aging happens quite quickly. Cover up is a very loaded term, I think.
Well, it means you knew that it was really bad and you're pretending otherwise versus you're deluding yourself, which I think is what people do a lot.
Well, I understand, but I still think it's like cover up is often like a crime, right?
Even Trump's old enemies say he's doing a good job. And he's actually friendly, unlike Barack.
He never did my show when he did every other show. I had to go on the air and beg him on my 60th birthday in his 8th year in office and shame him into it, basically. And he finally did. But, you know, it was at the White House. It was in the interview room. It wasn't fun. He must have had someone around him saying, you know, I'm a very dangerous person, Louis. That's the thing. I'm a dangerous person who nobody can trust because I might tell the truth about something or ask a hard question. As far as like just feeling free to just speak exactly how I feel, yes, I felt freer to do that with Trump than Obama or Clinton.
This isn't a dictatorship. It's a counter-revolution.
That's from Jesse Waters the other night, that last bit there. It's not a dictatorship. Here's Bill Maher basically saying, yeah, I think Trump's he was a nicer guy he is a nicer guy than the other ones I've sat down with. It's pretty amazing when you just kind of look at the news cycle these past many years, and you see how many lies we've been told. There was Jen Psaki trying to defend the fact that she covered for a president, a fake one at that was senile. The guy on the debate stage, you know, I never saw him in the Oval Office. You've got reporters now writing entire books about how much of a fraud the Biden regime was, the fake presidency was. You're listening to Stephen Flurry, and this is the Trumpet Daily. We appreciate you joining us on today's show. This is a bad day to wear a light suit. It's pouring down rain outside. So if you see some drops of rain on my coat, you'll know why. Hopefully those will dry up here in the next few minutes. Also, my voice. I've been speaking so much right here. I always do at the very last part of the semester, so my voice is leaving me. It's a little bit raspy, but after tomorrow's the last day of classes for Armstrong College. So I'll still have this show to do every day, but a lot less speaking as we go forward into the summer. So I'll try to give my vocals a little bit of a rest. But hopefully I have enough energy and strength in my vocal cords to go forward today. There's a lot happening in the news. The drama in Germany, as Merz, everybody thought it would just be a rubber stamp as he forms his government today. And in the German parliament, he didn't have enough votes the first time around. I guess they quickly corrected that for the second vote. Then we're coming up to the conclave. I think that's tomorrow, right? The first day. We're going to possibly learn about a new pope here in the next coming days. Just a lot of dramatic events transpiring as we've been covering on this show. But just coming back to the lies and the deception, look at this photo this is the White House Correspondents Photo of the Year. This is the photo of, try to think about last year, all of the dramatic events of 2024. And this photo, which I bet you've never seen, according to the White House Correspondents, this is the photo of the year. It's the photo of the fake president walking away from a press conference, probably after he just said, "I can't take any questions. My handlers won't let me." Meanwhile, you've got President Trump, who was shot in the head on July 13th. I mean, there's more than that even. The iconic photos of the past year, and now he's the president, whether it was in the garbage truck or McDonald's, but certainly July 13, the mugshot, that was last year too. They tried to kill him. They tried to kill Donald Trump. And here's your regime media. The ones that are just honest, like Lawrence O'Donnell, who said there that there has never been a president with more reverence for that oath of office than Joe Biden. And people just roll their eyes. Anybody with a brain cell knows that Donald Trump getting up from being shot and saying, "Fight, fight, fight." There's your photo of the year. This is from, I forget the website, but it's commenting on the White House Correspondents' choice for the photo of the year. It says here, this is announced at its annual Journalism Awards. The winning photo was taken by New York Times photographer Doug Mills and depicts the former president, Joe Biden, as he walks away from the podium. He's walking away from the podium. The man that, I guess, Jen Psaki had no clue. She covered for him. She's lying. It says here, a somber President Joe Biden, then wrestling with historic challenges from international crises to domestic calls for him to end his re-election campaign, is centered in the image, yet surrounded and visually almost overwhelmed by the physical infrastructure and historic weight of the White House, the judges wrote of the winning photo. Come on. Come on. As I say, how can you overlook what happened on July 13 and all the photos taken from that historic day? They very nearly murdered Donald Trump. They wanted to kill him. They wanted to destroy him in lawfare. They raided his home. I mean, there's quite a few pictures that are historic. And this is the one that the regime media chooses as they, break their arms, patting themselves on the back. That's what it amounts to. They award themselves with the photo of the year that nobody's seen, that means nothing to no one. This is just the way they operate. So many lies. Yesterday on the show, we had our anniversary, 10 years for this program, also 24 years of entering into the last hour. And I mentioned on the show just how much has happened coming into the last hour back in 2001, not just in world affairs, but also with the news of the work and what this church has been engaged in and what this church has built and raised up, raising the ruins. But, you know, it was also noted on that special video we put together for this show, 10 years. I think it was Sam during his narration where he was talking about, you know, how critical 2020 was, the COVID year, and all the lies and, you know, what led up to starting on Rumble. I think that was just 2022. It was a small beginning. But the lies in 2020, just following on this photo, I mean, look at, they say it with a straight face. Yeah, here's your photo of the year. It's Joe Biden. It's a nice black and white shot of Joe Biden walking across the room. What? Yesterday they had I think this was in the Oval Office, President Trump signing an executive order banning gain-of-function research. And just listening to those in the room as they talked about, you know, the start of COVID and the lies and how it could have been prevented. But you listen to this, you know, a few years on and you think, how could these people like Tony Fauci get away with these lies? And then go right off into the sunset and making their millions, as Fauci did. Listen to clip 8.
Speaker, we have a number of executive orders for your attention today, sir. The first relates to gain-of-function research. Many people believe that gain-of-function research was one of the key causes of the COVID pandemic that struck us in the last decade. What this executive order does, first of all, it provides powerful new tools to enforce the ban on federal funding for gain-of-function research abroad. It also strengthens other oversight mechanisms related to that issue and creates an overarching strategy to ensure that biomedical research in general is being conducted safely and in a way that ultimately protects human health more.
It's a big deal. Could have been that we wouldn't have had the problem we had. Right?
A lot of people say that, sir.
That's right. A lot of people say that we could have. It's one of the key causes of the COVID pandemic. Gain-of-function research. And the U.S. funding it, what was going on there in Wuhan, and then lying about it, saying that it came from the market, saying that it came from nature, that it wasn't man-made. They lied. They lied. And look at what they put the world through. The world. A dreadful year, if ever there was one, 2020. And at that time, as you heard on the show yesterday, I mean, we were hard at work. There was no shortage of content for this show. And we were putting together, I think for 6-7 weeks, we had a show on Saturday as well. 6 days a week. Just because there was so much craziness going on. So many lies, so much deception. Listen to, this is from the same meeting yesterday, clip 9.
This was the kind of study that was engaged in by the United States military and intelligence agencies beginning in 1947. By 1969, the CIA said that they had reached nuclear equivalency, that they could kill the entire U.S. population for 29 cents a person. That year, President Nixon went to Fort Detrick and announced a unilateral end to this kind of research, what they call dual-use research, research that was for vaccination and also for military purposes. He then persuaded over 180 countries to sign the Bioweapons Charter in 1973. That basically ended gain-of-function research around the globe until 2002. Until 2001, after the anthrax attacks, we passed the Patriot Act, and the Patriot Act had a provision, a little-known provision in it, that said that although the Bioweapons Charter is still in effect, and the Geneva Convention is still in effect, U.S. federal officials who violate it cannot be prosecuted. And that relaunched a bioweapons arms race, and that was driven by gain-of-function research. In 2014, 3 of those bugs escaped from U.S. labs, and President Obama declared a moratorium on future use, and instead a lot of that research was moved offshore to the Wuhan lab.
There's RFK saying how it was the dear leader, after he declared the moratorium, said that, well, let's just offshore it. Let's just work with the CCP on these bioweapons, on this technology. And they did. And look at what it did to the world. I mean, who's been held to account? Like I say, I mean, the regime, they just hold up a photo, an image, and say, here it is. Here's your iconic photo. I mean, that says everything that you need to know about these people and the way they think, that they would swoon over a fake president who was going senile there at the end. They still do it. They still lie. And they do it with a straight face. They're good at it. They're really good at it. Then there's RFK dropping a few truth bombs and giving the history, bringing the receipts. Here's what happened in 2014. Here's how the dear leader responded. Here's how it worked its way to Wuhan. And then Fauci goes off and makes his millions. This is the director of the NIH. I mean, at least there's a new administration in town. Jay Bhattacharya, listen to this from the same gathering, clip 10.
The conduct of this research does not protect us against pandemics, as some people might say. It doesn't protect us against other nations. What it does is there's always a danger that in doing this research, it might leak out just by accident even, and cause a pandemic. Any nation that engages in this research endangers their own population as well as the world, as we saw during the COVID pandemic.
Any nation that engages in this kind of research, the gain of function, endangers their own population and even the world. Here's another health official, again, from the same gathering, clip 11.
It's unbelievable to think the entire nightmare of COVID was likely preventable. And you had good instincts early on, Mr. President, in suggesting it came from the Wuhan lab. That is now the leading theory among scientists. It was 5 miles from the hospital where it first broke out. So it's crazy to think that this entire nightmare was probably the result of some scientists messing with Mother Nature in a laboratory with technology exported from the United States.
It's crazy to think this. Technology exported from the U.S., and these mad scientists working up this new bioweapon. I mean, that raises a lot of questions. Not just that it started at Wuhan. Why was it unleashed? Was it just an accident? Or is there more to it than that? Well, there's your back and forth in the look at what God intervened to save us from. We could have, I saw a clip the other day of Kamala Harris, that she was going on and on about all her favorite Democrats and, AOC, it was all, I might have mentioned this, but we emailed back and forth, our team did, and just thought we were pretty close for this bitter affliction to continue. It's not like everything is solved now, but at least there's some exposure to the lies that we've been told. And they continue to tell them. It's as if Donald Trump, on the one hand, they're obsessed with him, TDS, right? On the other hand, it's like he doesn't exist. How do you escape an assassination attempt with blood streaming down your cheek and raising your fist in the air, chanting, fight, fight, fight? And then someone gets a snapshot of that, and that's somehow, some way, that's not the photo of the year. Not according to the press. Not according to the White House press. You see, all those reporters that are there at the nation's headquarters, basically. I mean, it's the center of the universe as far as the U.S. goes. And so many of them, I mean, the White House has changed some of this by just inviting in these alternative news sources or representatives. So it's changing to some degree. But still, according to the White House, what was it? The Correspondents' Photo of the Year. There he is, Joe Biden, just stumbling across a room, shuffling away. The snapshot that says everything is that one from July 13, that's for sure. There it is. Fight, fight, fight. Donald Trump. I mean, we're coming up to that anniversary. We've had quite a few anniversaries of late. But here's another one. A few weeks away from the 1-year anniversary of that Saturday afternoon. Unforgettable. God intervened to save America temporarily by the hand of Jeroboam. And we saw one dramatic miracle after another. I mean, even the debate stage, Jen Psaki says, I didn't know that, Joe Biden. That shocked me. That shocked the world. No, it didn't shock a lot of people. Not here in America. I would venture to say a lot of people in the world, a lot of people around the world, a lot of the ruling class, the elites. I don't think they were shocked by that. It was the radical left as they were providing cover for all this fakery, all this phoniness. And then finally it was exposed. And then finally they started to change their tune. And now some of them are even writing books, tell-all books, about how that this was a president of the United States who was senile, and the regime media covered for it. When we come back, we'll get into all the election drama in Germany and just touching on some of the things we went through yesterday, entering into the last hour, May 5th, 2001. So, as I say, lots to get to. We've also got the Celtic Throne 2 feedback from the performance on Sunday afternoon right here in Edmond, Oklahoma at the beautiful Armstrong Auditorium, which you see behind me. That's coming up for late. We didn't have time to get into that yesterday on the show, so we'll squeeze that in at the end of today's program. You're listening to Stephen Flurry, and this is the Trumpet Daily. We'll be right back.
Daily news, Bible prophecy. See the connection on the Trumpet Daily. Are you feeling overwhelmed by the flood of news and information? You need something to sift the news and bring you only what matters most. You need the Trumpet Daily. You also need something to help you understand not just what's happening now, but what will happen next. You need the Trumpet Daily. Only the Trumpet Daily accurately matches daily news to precise Bible prophecies. Because Bible prophecy is the only tool up to the task of sifting the news down to what's important and showing you what will happen next. Join host Stephen Flurry every weekday. Go to trumpetdaily.com.
Like to announce the results of voting. 630 members, 621 votes cast, invalid votes 1. Votes in favor, 310 of MPs, the votes against, 307. Abstentions, 3. Friedrich Merz did not reach the necessary majority, 316. According to Article 63 of the Basic Law, he has not been elected Federal Chancellor of the Federal Republic of Germany.
A bombshell has just dropped in the German parliament. Friedrich Merz, whom you see in the center of your screen just getting up, who was expected to be confirmed in this first vote in the German parliament, there he is again, as confirmed as Chancellor, has not been confirmed. The vote did not go his way. He needed 316 votes. He only got 310.
This is an absolute shock, not just to Friedrich Merz, but to his entire coalition in Parliament. And this was supposed to be the moment where decades of his aim to become eventually Chancellor would come to a turning moment. And although, as I mapped out earlier, we can still be pretty certain that he will become German Chancellor eventually because of the way the system works, where in the end, just a simple majority would be sufficient. This damages him. He will be damaged political goods.
Yeah, I mean, this is a disaster for Friedrich Merz. I mean, his whole pitch in the last few months and going into the election earlier this year was there's been political instability and infighting in Germany in this three-way coalition led by Olaf Scholz, who we just saw in the screen there. This has been a government that's been unable to get anything done. I'm going to be the action man. I'm going to come in and get things done, be bold, make decisions, make things happen, pull Germany out of its economic and kind of the kind of grim mood that Germany has experienced in recent years that is related to all this political infighting, and really have a functional government. And now he can't even get elected as Chancellor, you know? So I think this is a real blow to his entire pitch as Germany's next leader.
Now, they sorted out the second time through, but still, I mean, leadership is predicated on confidence, and this puts a pretty big dent in the prestige of Friedrich Merz. And again, this is just the German Chancellor. My father, this was in a show last week where it talked about the Trumpet brief last week, rather, where he talked about how Europe needs more than a new German Chancellor. It needs a strongman. And that's what we're waiting for. That's what we're preparing you for. And this is just another sign. I mean, even if you think of it with respect to the conclave starting tomorrow, I mean, if you look at Germany, this is the leader of Europe. And many nations in Europe acknowledge this. We need Germany to lead the way. But if there's instability in German government, well, it's just going to make them look for an alternative, for a strongman, or to the Vatican. Well, maybe the Vatican is where we can get that strong leadership. Remember what Mr. Armstrong always said, how that they needed the good offices, this European empire. It needs the good offices, those spiritual offices of the Vatican, to rally the troops, to get everyone unified, to bring everyone together. The new Pope's going to have a hand in that. And so we've got to be preparing for that. But just to come back to the crisis, I mean, yet another crisis in German government, German leadership. Let's listen to clip one from Bloomberg.
Listen, I think it shows you just how fragile the German political establishment is right now. If you cannot even get this grand coalition, we should say that the majority of coalitions in German history since the end of the Second World War and since the fall of the Berlin Wall have been the SPD and the CDU. This is a sort of normal arrangement for sort of politics as usual in Germany. This is not a rare coalition like we had the last time around, which was really kind of a slobby coalition of the Greens, the sort of liberals, and the socialists. If they cannot even get their acts together, it's a real question about how effective they're going to be at uniting the country. As you say, Danny, we have that €1 trillion worth of stimulus. Where does that leave things? How quickly can they deploy that? If there is this level of political disagreement, even in the early stages, how are they going to agree on how to spend and disperse that money? There is also the fact that Friedrich Merz needs to be a strong leader of Germany, not just to unite the country, but to be a presence on the international stage, to deal with Donald Trump, to lead within Europe, and also to potentially broker new trade agreements now that the U.S. is basically stepping out of the multilateral trading and neoliberal order. That's going to have to be Germany and Europe. This does not seem like a chancellor that is very strong.
It certainly doesn't. This does not seem like a chancellor that's very strong. And so Europe will continue looking for its strong man. Deutsche Welle says Merz has been elected as new chancellor in the second round of voting in the Bundestag. the lower house of the German parliament. His failure to win enough support earlier today was the first time in Germany's post-war history that a candidate missed a majority in the first round of voting. I mean, yet another unprecedented event. It's the first time in Germany's post-war history. This never happened. I guess it's a secret vote, not unlike the conclave. So some, even perhaps in his own, his own party, said, yeah, I'm not so excited. I'm not so excited about Merz. Who will they be excited about? Who will Europe be excited about? My father's article from January, again, it says it all. After Trump's victory, watch Germany. Watch Germany. I mean, you had Donald Trump's dramatic victory back in November, and then the very next morning, Germany's government collapses. And that's what led up to what we're seeing now with Merz. And then what a blow to the power and the prestige of Merz's office to not even have enough in the first go-round. That's not a sign of strength and stability. It's just the opposite. Listen to clip 2.
It's a bombshell, Annette. It's the first time since the Second World War that a German chancellor has failed to win a vote in Parliament at this stage of the process, and that's something which Merz's political opponents wasted no time in reminding people of, particularly the far-right AfD. They mentioned how unusual, how unprecedented the situation is. And it's important to note that actually his coalition has enough seats to have got him over the line. It has 328 seats, and yet he only got 310 votes. So we can see from that he doesn't have the support of the entirety of his own coalition, which is obviously very worrying for him.
My father gave a Key of David program. We should have pulled the clip, but it was back in 2009, so 16 years ago. And he was talking about the Strongman prophecy, Daniel 8, Daniel 11. And he said that this Strongman was undoubtedly going to take advantage of a weak coalition government in Germany. That's what we're seeing. That's what's playing out. As I said, this is only going to make the people of Europe and this now forming European empire look to the Vatican all the more. They want new leadership. They want strong leadership. And they're about to get it. They, as you heard one of them say, I mean, they've got to have it to compete with Orange Hitler. They've got to have it to resist against Donald Trump. And they're going to get it. Listen to, let's see, did we play clip 3? If not, play clip 4.
Despite all that, the fact remains that he has one of the slimmest majorities since World War II. And even if you look at his personal ratings, one poll very recently had him losing 10 percentage points compared to mid-February. So increasingly, he looks afraid, even in this whole period since he won the election.
So the obvious question, Armin, is what happens next?
Well, there are 2 German media outlets now reporting that there will not be another vote in Parliament today. The various parliamentary groups are holding meetings today. If after those consultations, Friedrich Merz gets the impression that he can win a second round, then he can go for another vote. But under the German constitution, actually, other candidates can throw their hats into the ring at this stage as well. The catch is that they would also need this magic number of 316 votes, and it doesn't really look very likely that some other candidate would just sort of come out of nowhere and magically get 316 votes. But under the German constitution, there is this 2-week period where several votes can be held, and if after those 2 weeks no candidate gets the votes they need, then the bar is lowered to a simple majority of MPs that will elect the Chancellor.
So that's already a little out of date, as they had the second round of voting and he made it through. But still, It was supposed to just be a rubber stamp, as this next clip brings out, clip 4.
This is the sort of day that was supposed to be a rubber stamp event to basically bring in the new Chancellor of Germany, you know, Europe's biggest economy. There was a complete explosion of basically all expectations here. It fell short of the votes, 310 votes. It shocked everybody in the room. You saw the Chancellor, Olaf Scholz, his jaw dropped, shaking his head when he went to go consult with the other leaders of the different coalition and caucuses within the parliament. There was one person who was laughing audibly, very loudly within the auditorium, and that was the leader of the far-right AfD, Alice Weidel, who found it obviously hilarious and basically has been campaigning throughout this entire time on a platform that basically the German political establishment, mainstream parties are broken and are not effective. The
far-right AfD having a good laugh at Merz's expense. Politico says Merz's dramatic German parliament defeat in a vote to make him chancellor is yet more evidence of the fragility of his incoming government. It's just another sign of weakness. This is not the strong man, but it's going to be a government or leadership that the strong man will take advantage of, that the strong man will use to his benefit. It says the loss is not fatal. Another vote is now set for Tuesday afternoon local time. And again, this has happened now. But the outcome is humiliating for a politician who was already struggling to retain support 2 months after the country's election and amid brickbats hurled by the administration of the U.S. President Donald Trump. See, Trump is the reason that we need strength, that we need a strong man. It says that he was 6 votes short of the 316 threshold. These are times of dwindling certainty, it says, not only as far as important political decisions are concerned, but also with regard to majorities, says this commentator. Listen again to some of these clips coming out of Europe. This is clip 5.
A separate issue beyond the uncertainty now about his election is whether Merz will have the authority to fully pursue all the policies he wants to. Of course, we need a functioning government. We have now had 6 months of a power vacuum, and in that period, the German economy did not fare well.
And we've seen immediate reactions from the markets. We saw Germany's blue chip DAX 40 falling initially. We saw yields on 10-year German bonds tick up slightly. How are investors interpreting what's happening?
Well, investors are uncertain what happens next. There are a lot of questions. Hence, the uncertainty is reflected in markets. But having said that, it remains highly likely that Merz will be elected probably in a second round of voting, which could be as early as tomorrow.
And it happened as early as today. This article my father wrote in January. After Trump's victory, watch Germany. And I've talked before how that, God didn't miss a beat. He didn't even really pause and have us consider the fact that he brought Jeroboam back, as dramatic, as miraculous as that was back in November. And then the inauguration on January 20th, when you were hearing my father's messages or reading what he wrote in Trumpet briefs or at the website or in the magazine. I mean, that's the forward-thinking nature of a godly perspective. Okay, now that Donald Trump has won, what's next? Where do we go from here? I've been just going through some of that history with Christ and his crucifixion. And just like we noted in the class early on last semester, with everything surrounding the birth of the Messiah, his appearance, his arrival, and how many prophecies were pointing to it. I mean, you see so many of these prophecies also describing in vivid detail what was to transpire around his crucifixion. It's in Psalm 22. It's in Isaiah 52, Isaiah 53. It's all over the place. God keeps us informed. He's always looking ahead. He's always going forward. And when Jesus says to us, follow me, we've got to follow Christ forward. We've got to follow in his steps. This article, after Trump's victory, watch Germany. It refers to Daniel 11:21. The prophecy there about this strong man coming in with flatteries. And it says, anciently, men were naive and credulous, and Antiochus took advantage of them. He pretended to be someone he was not and obtained office through flatteries and deceit. I mean, we know what this is like. Look at the way Barack Obama came in. Lying, pretending, deceiving. You saw it in that clip from Jesse Waters. This is a counter-revolution. This is a movement, MAGA, that's rolling back the fundamental transformation of the United States. It says this strong leader is going to come in by flatteries, not by a democratic election. So remember this. Remember this. He comes in by flatteries. It says, Moffat says this vile person is a despicable creature. This terrible man is about to take control. How could this happen in the sophisticated nations of Europe? Well, think Orange Hitler. People just aren't thinking rationally, reasonably. It's all about opposing Jeroboam. It's all about fighting Trump. You see the derangement here at home, here in the United States. It's all over the place. I mean, they're still putting out photos of Joe Biden, the fake president. Just continuing on with all this phoniness and fakery. It says Germany's drawn-out election cycle and weak coalition, or rather could Germany's drawn-out election cycle and weak coalition lead to something similar? So this is what we're seeing. After Trump's victory, you better watch Germany. It says here, there's already great urgency for a strong leader. In a crisis, Germany's elites may decide there's no time to appoint someone democratically. They could step in and select a leader quickly. But this man will hijack the whole alliance, and it will turn out very differently from what a lot of people want it to be. Very different indeed. I think that's, actually we have one more, clip 6.
We've just learned, and I think you've probably also seen the news, that the Chancellor-designate Merz has failed in the first round of the vote in the Bundestag. This is unprecedented. This has never happened before in German history. In Europe and in Germany, we're now seeing a very tense and fractured political landscape. This is a country who's seeing its procedures called into question, and then this failure is a real shock. We had the coalition agreement and the prospects of Merz's commitment there, that he would be determined to support the European construction. And for Europe, we need an ambitious and stable Germany.
We need it for all of Europe, you see. If Germany's unstable, then the whole of Europe is unstable. So this is the continuation of an ongoing crisis. It's like my father said, could this man, the strong man, the prophesied strong man, take advantage of a weak coalition, of weak government? We're seeing that play out. We had another article, this is from February 2025. Europe is awaiting orders from Germany to create this superpower. It says here, Germany is the largest economic nation in Europe, and leadership is repeatedly demanded of us by almost every European member state, says Karl Theodor zu Guttenberg. I mean, this is a leader we've had our eye on in particular. But then the Trumpet piece says here, Germany so far has failed to provide that leadership. The election on Sunday promises more uncertainty, infighting, and weak coalitions. That's from thetrumpet.com, February 20th, 2025, just a couple months ago, where we basically, it's tomorrow's news today, right? That's what we always say. But the election on Sunday or back in February, all that it promises is more uncertainty, more infighting, and a weak coalition, which is exactly what we're seeing. It says here, we don't expect these elections to solve the deep leadership crisis within Germany. In fact, they could make the situation even worse and put even more pressure on Germany and Europe to take more radical measures to break the political status quo. We've got to do something dramatic. We've got to do something undemocratic. That's what will happen. It says further on, we could see new leaders of Germany and the Vatican in a very short time. And then he quotes from my father. This goes back to 1993, the Trumpet, where it says, Mr. Fleury wrote in the December 1993 Trumpet that along with this prophesied strongman of Daniel 8 and Revelation 17, a great false religious leader is also going to come on the scene about the same time. Wow, I mean, that's significant. You see all of this happening right at the time when this papal conclave begins tomorrow. I mean, it's setting the stage for Europe, for a Vatican-led Europe to storm the world, so to speak, to become a world superpower. They're prophesied to be a mixture of iron and clay. So it's taken a while to bring it all together, to bring all these disparate parts together where there's iron-like strength from top to bottom. But it's all happening so fast. And it's happening at a time when, you know, we talked about the anniversary of the fall of Saigon last week. We're just passing the 250-year anniversary of Lexington and Concord. All these lessons built into our history, our own history, the 80-year anniversary of victory in Europe. God's trying to help us remember, in some cases, shameful defeats, and in other cases, miraculous victories. In all cases, He's trying to help us bring him back into the middle of everything. Instead, we want to shove him aside. We want to move him out of the way. We want to do it our way. And look at what happens when we do it our way. It's just one failure after another after another. God wants us to look to love him, to follow Christ, to take up our cross, our beam, our stake, and deny ourselves and serve God in this awesome purpose and plan that is being worked out here below. I talked about the urgency of the times that we're in on yesterday's show. The last hour, 1 John 2, verse 18. And if you back up to those verses before that verse, it talks about coming out of the world. Notice Philippians 4. This is Paul writing to Philippi, verse 3. It says, "And I entreat you also, help those women which labored with me in the gospel, with Clement also, and with others my fellow laborers, whose names are in the book of life." It says, "Rejoice in the Lord always. And again I say, rejoice. Let your moderation be known unto all men. The Lord is at hand." The meaning is that Jesus Christ's return is upon us. You can see some of the same kind of language in Hebrews 10. Paul and so many of the others in the first century, they were anticipating Christ's return, even in their day. They got that bit of it wrong. But God wanted these prophecies, these admonitions, he wanted them recorded, canonized for our benefit and learning, because the Lord is at hand. We're getting so close to the return of Jesus Christ. Herbert Armstrong wrote in his book, The United States and Britain in Prophecy, he said, "An exciting, pulsating, vital third of all the Bible is devoted to prophecy And approximately 90% of all prophecy pertains to our time. Our time now, in this latter half of the 20th century. It says it's a warning to us, to our English-speaking peoples, of immediate life and death import. So important. Peter said it's sure, it's certain, Bible prophecy. And when you see, even seemingly insignificant details, Christ's persecutors taking his garments, and it's prophesied that they would fight over or haggle over the garments. Who would take Jesus' coat? Why would God put so much time into making sure all those details are recorded in advance? Well, it's a powerful warning, isn't it? He wants for us to know, and he wants those who reject it to know after the fact. Just like it says at the end of Ezekiel 33, when all these things come to pass, then they will know that there was a prophet among them. 2 Peter 1 and verse 10, it says, Wherefore the rather, brethren, give diligence to make your calling and election sure. If you do these things, you shall never fail. You've got to be on solid ground, spiritually speaking. You've got to live it. You've got to do it. You've got to finish like Jesus did. He said on the stake, it's finished. I did it. Paul said in 2 Timothy 4, when he was about to be executed, I've run my race. I've finished the course. There's a crown waiting for me. It's awesome. In the Peter booklet, my father says, Peter shows us how to make our calling and election sure. He teaches us how to prevent the greatest catastrophe of all. Will we heed what he says? Do we really want to achieve our mind-splitting potential? I mean, we're going to fight to get there, all the way through to the finish line. We have to. God's building that courageous, that bold spirit within us to fight for the truth, to fight for God's work, for God's purpose and plan. It's worth it. All the tests and trials, the persecutions even, the sickness, the disease, the struggles, whatever it is. If we look to God in faith, I mean, we'll be there at that finish line with Christ, with the Apostle Paul, with all the other heroes of the Scriptures. We've got to save time for the Celtic Throne 2 feedback. We'll finish today's show with feedback from Sunday's performance in Armstrong Auditorium. You're listening to Stephen Fleury, and this is the Trumpet Daily. Enjoy the feedback.
It is just the most amazing show. All of the performers are at their best, and it's just really inspiring music and dance, and they're just very top quality.
It was gorgeous. I love it. It was beautiful. They moved so fast across the stage. I sit there and smiled and laughed the whole thing. I loved it. And the story's beautiful.
Well, I think it's absolutely awesome. This is not my first time to come here, but I've been here very few times, and every time I've come, everything is excellent, and the sound effects are so great, and I like the smaller venue than I do the larger one, so I will plan to come again, that's for sure.
It's been amazing, absolutely fantastic, very exciting.
Very talented group. It's been a lot of fun to watch so far.
We saw the other one 4 times.
The other one.
Yeah, we liked the other one. We saw it 4 times, but like this one better.
I've been watching Celtic dancing ever since it come to Oklahoma, and it's great. I like this. It's good that you teach it here. I think it's wonderful. I think it's nice that you're going to get to go overseas and see how they do over there. Of course, from all the luck in the world.
Oh, it's great. Very entertaining. Great to see these young kids get to travel across the country.
It's fabulous.
I'm shocked. I've seen a little bit of it on social media or advertising somewhere, and that was what made me want to come this year. I can't even believe it. It's so good.
I've seen it one time before, and I wanted to come back because it is so good. I really have enjoyed seeing the youngsters doing it, and the woman singing is fabulous also, in addition to the dance.
I'm loving how they integrate everything: the vocal, the orchestra, the dance.
Unbelievable. I don't know how they could do it.
We loved every minute. It was fabulous. We'll come back. I hope you all will have this again.
It was amazing. It was incredible. I saw a show of Celtic dancing in Branson, Missouri. It doesn't even hold a candle to this group. I thought I saw the first one a year ago, but this was just outstanding. I'm Irish and I want to get up there and dance with them.
The show moved me to tears and my hands hurt from clapping, and it was wonderful. Can't wait to go see it again.
It was absolutely emotional. I was pretty much emotional the whole time.